This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
All right, another week. I think we're all ready for a weekend, maybe. A little deep breath, a little let's do some mental cleansing of things other than what we've been consuming. I think that's on tap for many of us. But this morning, today, wherever you're watching us, Robin Drake, retired FBI special agent and former chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, joining us. We're going to go over the latest of what we know in the Charlie Kirk assassination as we try and examine this and get to the root of what happened here. How did this man, this young boy, if you will, 22 years old, decide in the course of a week to take the action that he did and have crazy ripple effects around our planet with that one horrible decision? Robin, you spent obviously years inside the Bureau studying how people think, act, and radicalize. And today we're talking about not necessarily an international terrorist, but somebody's kid right here in the United States that went off and did something absolutely horrible. I'm just going to start here because you've been all over the place on this week, talking about every different angle. As we wrap up the week, what's the biggest thing that stood out to you that you've learned that you're trying to wrap your mind around?
Boy, and you really hit it right at the beginning, Tony. This was a shot that was heard around the world, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. One shot, and it's been really impacting so many of us. And a good mental cleansing is definitely needed for us all to get some healthy thoughts going again. I'll tell you, the thing I've been working on throughout the week mostly, I guess, I think we all are, and I think it's one of the reasons why it was so impactful for so many. It was, the violence of it, the victim, as well as, what made an otherwise healthy looking 22-year-old do something so heinous? What was the path down this dark triad to oblivion, really, that sparked all this? And so it was really taking a deeper dive on. I don't like chasing things as much because I've worked in the world of counterintelligence, and if you're chasing things after they happen, you'll never catch up. These people have long legs and sprinters' legs, and they always keep in front of you. And so I'm always kind of, like you said, reversing it as a behaviorist to see what was the cause of this and where did it start and what can we do at the starting point. So we can do what I call a pincer attack. We can deal with the law enforcement angle and things we can do online to protect ourselves, protect our children, work with algorithms and companies and all those things. And some of what I'm going to suggest here will fall into that. But also, where is the root cause and what can we do at the beginning of this to, again, here's someone before the prefrontal lobes even fully formed at the age of 22 years old, has let his emotions and his groupthink, his self-centered actions. And I want to be very clear on this. This is not the action of a social justice warrior, just like Luigi Mangione isn't. And I don't care who you are and what camp you're in on this. All we need to do is look at history of successful social justice warriors, as I mentioned earlier in the week, whether it's Desmond Tutu, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. All these individuals were social justice warriors, clear messaging, and they had civil discourse. So I looked at this whole thing. Where did civil discourse fall? Where's it fallen out of our system? The Socratic method was introduced by Socrates back in 5 BC. And it was a method for engage. I actually looked up all the research on this as well. It's what law enforcement uses when interviewing someone. It's what interviewers like yourself use on radio shows and podcasts. It's what a lot of people use, but for some reason, it falls by the wayside in a lot of places in our society. And that's what, kind of to my point earlier this week, was curiosity died. And the Socratic method of really interrogating and asking what questions and asking, not just dictating our thoughts onto others, but we actually ask them what they think about what we think. Again, it's being questioning, it's being interrogating our thoughts and thoughts of others, and it's what has died. And part of that is that curiosity. And so at some point along the way, he being the shooter, lost the need or want to inquire about his own thoughts about why he believes something. So that's what I've been really wrestling with, is like, what do we do as a society now? Again, I'm not a psychologist or a fixer. I'm the law enforcement guy, behaviorist that says, all right, what's the root cause and what are we going to do about it? And so from what I've seen, because this is different than a Koberger. This is a person that, in my estimation, again, not a psychologist, not born with a broken brain. Mm-hmm. He was born pretty normal in a pretty healthy family. Again, healthy, falling within the parameters of normal behavior, as much as we all. But somewhere along the way, that brain got twisted. Mm-hmm. The curiosity died, and then it was not substantially invigorated by the online community. I did research on how many online forums and how many social networking places and how many video games actually utilize the Socratic method of questioning, or are they just promulgating what's right and what's wrong according to their dogma. So it was a really deep dive on all that. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, I mean, and when we jump into all of that, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect video games to be, teaching morals or
it's
bounds
not about morals either.
Yeah, or bounds. But obviously something went horribly wrong here. When we talk about conversation and having discourse with each other and learning and hearing each other, I think it feels like the definition of conversation is not the same for all of us. And I do wonder if that there's a generational change in what that means based on how people have been raised. And I'm not saying just within their families. I'm saying more so within the social structure of our society, of our social media, of everything everybody consumes from birth, basically. I mean, this is a kid. He's 22. I have no idea when he got his first phone, but he's very easily one of those kids who could have had an iPhone in his hand at a very, very, very young age, or a device. And this is, and completely brought up in a world where this is how he consumes information. And an iPhone on its face is not an evil thing. It's the way we consume it and the way that we understand how to do it. But I feel like we've gone into that world with no playbook and our brains aren't equipped to do it. But back to my point about the conversation. Conversation does not mean dictating your thoughts to others and walking away. that feels like how a lot of people view conversation today. It's like, I'm just going to spew my thoughts, and then you're going to spew your thoughts, and we're not going to necessarily go back and forth all that much. We're just going to keep spewing why we're right to each other, and never taking the moment to sit down and say, let's hear you. Let's hear you. Let's think about it. And that seems to be a big missing piece with a lot of folks today.
And Tony, think about it too, that a lot of times the younger people, I'm going to sound really old and I'm going to scream at you to get off my damn lawn in just a minute here, but we don't talk anymore. And we don't sit down at the table and talk. We don't talk on the phone. We use Messenger. We use texting. We don't have this back and forth where I'm seeing the reaction on your face. I'm just taking whatever is printed to me, like in typeface, as your feelings. And a lot of times people don't convey their feelings properly through that medium. So we're missing out on the nuance of actual face-to-face conversation. And I think we're losing that emotional tie to people. We don't see that, wow, my words just hurt you. Mm-hmm. And feel that empathy. We don't feel that. We just throw something out there and damn it, I'm right, and walk away.
And I want to add this to that too, because I agree. Is this something that's different too, that has been an effect of social media and the way people communicate? Are we isolating generationally more than we ever have before? I mean, it used to be, it seems you would look to folks who are a bit older than you or much older than you for wisdom, for thoughts, for people who've gone through life a little bit. When you're young, you're not going to make good decisions. You're going to make rash choices. You're going to make decisions that you'll end up looking back and going, that was horrible. And normally it doesn't end with executing someone. It's usually much tamer than that. But I feel like there is this isolation with a younger generation that seems to be missing that seems to be missing. Life isn't as horrible as I may think it is, and the voices that used to be, they're the older generations. They're there, but they're not being seeked out, because sometimes it seems that there's a lot of younger generations that just feel very much this is how it is, and then they just get into their echo chambers and they just keep getting the same advice from the same ill-experienced people who don't have any life reps, and they just keep repeating things over and over. There doesn't seem to be that extra voice that comes in and goes, okay, wait a second, I hear what you're, and I'm not saying I hear what this guy was saying in this case. I'm saying just kind of generally when a young person may be struggling as they grow, I hear where you're coming from, I hear where this is difficult for you, but here's how life kind of does play out and things do get better. That seems to be missing quite a bit, I feel like, from a lot of young people. And I don't know the solution. I don't know that it's not being seeked out. I don't know that it's even part of the equation for many people to even think, hey, maybe I should go talk to somebody about this other than just the same people who have the exact same ideas that I do, who they're exact same age as me.
Anecdotally, it seems like it makes sense, and from my own experiences as well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any research or studies on it, but it makes sense. Interestingly, about this entire thing too, this microcosm that people are living in, it's when we were growing up, we were taught how to fish. Everyone now is just given the fish, and they don't interrogate the information they're provided. I mean, when we were younger, we're saying, hey, if you got to write a paper, so you can go to the library and look it up, and I want at least 5 sources before you can put it down on a piece. I mean, think about that. I don't know how often that is done anymore, and how quick and easy it is to get that information. So here's other research I did on this when it comes to interrogating information and questioning, and not questioning like you're right or wrong. Questioning is like, help me understand what I believe so I can understand what you believe. And again, I'm going to not try to repeat that Socratic method so much, but it's really so fitting for here. Now, if you want, I'm going to read the definition of it.
Yeah, sure.
Socratic is, for people that haven't heard of it or just haven't done a deeper dive, it's a form of cooperative argumentative dialogue between individuals based on asking and answering questions to stimulate critical thinking, draw out underlying ideas and assumptions, and expose contradictions in one's beliefs. It's developed by ancient Greek philosopher Socrates around 5th century BC, and it's a way to pursue truth through logical inquiry rather than direct instruction or opinions being forced at you. And when I did a study on this, here's another scary thing. This is what schools aren't doing this. There's only one program I could find. Now, granted, individual schools might do this, but there's only one program you could actually buy that it's only used by like 1,000 people across the country, I think, that actually uses a teaching platform for the Socratic method. And this is, I know this is a complaint by many people of our universities, and it's one of the reasons. Again, please put all politics aside. I don't want to hear left or right, Democrat, Republican anymore. This is one thing that Charlie Kirk was trying to do, was to stimulate. Hey, don't absorb and regurgitate what you're getting. Be inquisitive about what it is you're getting. Ask that question to stimulate knowledge, which universities used to do and which schools used to do. And this is where, if I'm going back to the root cause of where I think a normally otherwise healthy individual started down this dark triad path, it was this. It really was this. I mean, that definition I just read, when was the last time you encountered someone other than in that does all they can in your areas of media, of taking communication in college, where it's not just regurgitating and being opinion pieces, but literally being reporters and journalists, interrogating information around you, free of an opinion, free being what I always call that non-judgmental active curiosity. That is at the heart of what we're doing. And here's also why this is so important. And it's dumbfounding me that we're not doing it more. Because the last thing I was doing before we came on the air is I was doing the deep research of what happens to our brain chemically when we're actually employing the Socratic method. Yes, that same big four, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, are firing when we are on the path of curiosity and discovery. And so what people are doing when they're falling in these online microcosms is that they're seeking the cheap like hit and validation of a crappy opinion, because it's just an opinion, to try to get that same little stimulation than having a rich conversation. Man, history always has the answers to everything. All you got to do is take 2 seconds to look. And this is how we stimulate ourselves as human beings for thousands of years of evolution before the last couple of years of this. So our brains reward us when we're doing these things. And so I think if we just start hitting this root cause and just re-infiltrating this into society starting with families, starting with schools, starting with us all. And let go of preaching at people what you think is right or wrong. And I do this all the time in my emails. Tony, I do it with you. I do it with everyone. I always have an opinion of what I think about something. I mean, when we're talking about these cases, you and our text messages going back and forth, before I actually share an opinion of what I think, if I'm not quite sure about what someone else's opinion is, the first thing I'll always do, and because I want to have a civil discourse, I say, hey, what do you think about this? I don't tell you what I think first. I want your thoughts and opinions about it, because then I'm going to know your context, what your perspective is. And then if it's different than mine, I'm curious about, what made you say that, Tony?
Sure.
And then we start getting context. We build, and then 99% of the time, I completely modify my take and assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
Which is rare, and most people don't do that. Most people don't modify anything. They're ingrained. It's carved in. And why would I want to change that? Well, because that's how you grow and learn.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. I'm sucking today on that. This gets us back to the case.
Yeah.
This is what he wasn't doing. Mm-hmm. And he started getting reps, and he was on an arc of self-fulfilling confirmation bias prophecies of non-interrogation, because as his quote says, some people just can't be rationalized with, or what was the last quote he said?
Yeah, I got it somewhere here.
I got it too. Anyway, everyone's seen it a million times.
In the text exchange, is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it right here. Why did I do it? What am I looking for specifically?
The reason why he did it was some people just can't be reasoned with or rationalized or something like that.
Yeah, it's something. It's in here somewhere.
That's where curiosity was shown to die.
I think if you don't stretch that muscle very much, it just rots.
Yeah.
If you're not curious, you just go through life just bouncing off of the walls, and that's it. You're not going to re-engage. And I fear that we've lost an entire generation. And I don't mean to throw a blanket statement over it, but we just don't have people who are curious anymore.
But we have neuroplasticity. We can get it going again.
Change, yeah. and there are people in that generation that are curious. It just feels that it's very off balance than it has been in the past, and then we lead to this. I mean, one of the biggest things that everybody's just trying to wrap their mind around on this is this kid. He looked like pretty much any other normal kid, and I'm not just talking physically. I'm just talking, if you met him and you. You saw any sort of interaction of him, I don't think a lot of people would think that this is a guy who's going to go do this. There's plenty of people who disliked Charlie Kirk. We know that. Yep. There's plenty of people who disagreed with him, and plenty of people who I'm sure saw him coming to the campus as a negative thing, just as there were plenty that saw it as a positive thing. But the difference in this is just this is simplicity at which this guy went and said, okay, he's coming here. I don't like him. He's too whatever. And it's in this text over here somewhere. What he was saying about it's too negative or too much hate. It usually stays within those bounds. It stays within the bounds of conversation, of expressing it on social media or to your friend or whatever. It doesn't typically end with, I'm going to go get Grandpa's rifle and then go take him out. I mean, what is the what happened here? I mean, and if you do see that, it is typically a more radicalized, a more extreme individual that has a hell of a lot more signs about them than this guy.
Well, and think about, he said, I had enough of this hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
Yeah, that's the line.
Yep.
At this point, he should have gone to this actual speech that he was giving and taken him on in a conversation, put the gun down and have a conversation. If you think that Charlie Kirk is full of hate, then go take him on and beat him down with an argument. You don't have to shoot him and kill him. Yeah. Go have a verbal confrontation with him and try to bring him to your side. And I don't mean confrontation because that sounds argumentative, but have a discussion with the man and try to get him to come to your side. You don't have to kill him.
He didn't have, he could have gone to the microphone. He didn't have to go to the roof.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Robert. I want to get your response to that.
And so getting to your point, Tony, and then getting to him and what caused this, not doing that and going to the mic. So here's where we have the parallels with ISIS, Al-Qaeda recruiting, these sleeper cells, because we're calling this online radicalization, which we called those things before. This is this is a new morphing of it. The way that typically terrorist groups that we've seen before have recruited, what made them effective at recruiting is who do they actively recruit? They took people that had nothing else to lose, predominantly, that felt they had no purpose, they had no future, they had no economic well-being, and they were able to suck them in and recruit them and indoctrinate them into a way of thinking that gave them a purpose, that gave them something to do. And so here's some of those, I've researched this, some of the parallels between what we're seeing through these self-radicalized assassin culture that's come about, as the study from Rutgers coined it very effectively, and those other groups that we've seen from the past. And that's very, very similar. One of the reasons why he acted like this and said these things, and when we saw his initial appearance, and when he all of a sudden seemed to have given up, he didn't just give up after he shot Charlie Kirk. He had given up before then. It's the reason why he did it, because he felt his life had no purpose. Matter of fact, so here's the other parallel with typical lone shooters is that lack, and it's why this typically in this age group as well, mid 20s, early 30s, is because it's that lack of purpose, or looking for something to give their life meaning. And so they latch on to something, as unhealthy as it is, definitely in this case, and it becomes their meaning until the entire world comes crashing out. Because is also his grasp on reality, in my estimation, again, conjecture, he spent so many hours in unreal world that he didn't really grasp. I mean, just listen, the text exchange was it was so flippant about what he just did. Oh, it's no big deal to let it go. And this has been going on for a while, Tony and Stacey. Years ago, before I retired from the FBI, I remember the first time we had an espionage case from someone from a millennial. It wasn't Gen Z here, it was a millennial. And what was very striking to me in this investigation was we had the telephone call that he had made to a foreign diplomatic establishment, where he's basically volunteering over the phone to the bad guys to give them classified information because he wanted some cash, he wanted something in life. Mm-hmm. And I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm comparing it now, again, that arc to everything I've been exposed to before of other espionage investigations, whether it was Robert Hansen or whether it's any other insider threat espionage case we've done, where people were very cognitively aware of the damage they're doing against the national security of the United States, NATO allies, potentially killing people by their actions and what they're doing for themselves. You could hear the stress in their voice. You could hear the trauma they're going through to kind of take out they knew the severity of what they're doing. You could see the difference in everyday conversations with people and when they're actually going operational. This conversation, this text messaging didn't just seem like it was everyday life. And the same thing, this first espionage case I saw from someone that was of a younger generation, millennial generation, he was having friends in the background having a beer party as he decided to pick up the phone and call the diplomatic establishment, volunteering, flippant, whatever. Hey, I need some cash. And I'm like, it was blowing my mind. And here again, we're seeing exactly the same thing, because the understanding of the ramifications of their actions is completely vacant, which is very different than a Brian Kohberger who's got just a broken brain, or a Lori Del-Valle. That's why this one's scary to people, because that, and he looked so much like so many kids we know. Yeah. It makes you scared. I mean, I probably reached out to friends and family numerous times, like I think we all did, just touching base. Hey, I'm here for you. Yeah. In the last week, to say, hey, I'm here for you. This is a path that no one has to go down. Yeah. But that's where I think that this origin of it came was that.
I mean, the origin, when you if you were to have a conversation with the guy, I'm sure you get I hate Charlie Kirk is, what he would, say. I hate it, this and that. Okay. But dig deeper. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have if you dig deep enough and ask the right questions, you're going to get a guy who hates himself. And that the fact that he's willing to go and put all his life on the line. He's gone. His life is over. He'll be executed by the government. But the lack of understanding that this is going to be the cause and effect of your actions seems to be a very missing part. There's a lot of people who hate themselves, who go out and act out in ways. But even people who do hate themselves, I guess I'm very baffled by the lack of understanding of the cause and effect here. That he didn't seem to think that there would be an effect to these actions. In his letters, he literally says, "To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age." I mean, what? I'm sorry to involve you in the text exchange. And he's saying, you weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude. It's so flippant. It's so
he's calling someone else crazy. He's calling someone else crazy.
It's like he's talking about going and ordering at Burger King. There's no gravity. There's no. He doesn't seem to grasp the depth of his actions at all. And I'm wondering why that is. What's missing in him, or collectively in a chunk of a generation of people, that this seems to be okay in their mind, that they can talk about it this flippantly.
And an element of it, again, who knows that they'll have to do psychological assessments and testing on them. But I think definitely one element is that lack of purpose. When Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, how did people in the concentration camps maintain purpose and meaning? They're the only ones that actually, not the only ones, they are some of the ones that actually were able to survive physically deprivations that were done to the body that killed so many, besides the Nazis themselves, but just the environment that they were in. But some were able to get muscle through it. Not muscle, it's not even the right word. Psychologically, they never gave up because they knew there was purpose in life, and they found that purpose, as small of a glimmer as that was. So when we as a species and an individual lose purpose, because that's an element of what we saw here, someone that totally lost purpose. And this is part of that big challenge of why this current generation, this current climate we're in, is self-radicalizing. Because if you feel you have no purpose, and then you have groups online that say, yeah, we have no purpose together, and it's easy to get down an arc of self-validation inside these echo chambers, well, why not? I hate this guy. This guy's an idiot. I don't like him, and I got nothing else to lose. And that's what, just see that.
And then that becomes their purpose. And I say that in air quotes.
It does, because he wants, a lot of, that term criminal notoriety really comes into play with me as well on this one, because notoriety, not from look how awesome I am, but also it's notoriety sense. I have a purpose. This was my purpose. And granted, at the onset, he had hopes of living through this, but I think that hope died when the reality started coming crashing down, and that's why he's on suicide watch right now. It's so scary, because there's so many just like him. That's why this is such a
that's the scary part, I think, to a lot of people, is we think of, people are being recruited, they're doing this, they're doing that, they stand out. This was another lone wolf, which is the scariest thing, and the idea that he will flip so quick to think this is the solution. You got to think there's a lot more of them out there that are willing to do this on either side of belief systems, of whatever one believes is the right way, quote unquote, that they could flip. Are we in an environment where there is a lot more of these folks who are out there that are we should be really concerned that we're going to start seeing a lot more of this? Or was this really just a very odd duck and it scared the shit out of all of us? Really, what, where do you think we stand society-wise in terms of people being able to just self-radicalize in such a way that we really haven't seen in this country before with our own citizens?
So the methodology that self-radicalize this is prevalent. It is there. And when you look at the crowd supporting Luigi Mangione, you can definitely see there's more potential out there for this. And I'm going to be very honest in this, because of the depth of field I've given this in the last week, I don't have as much objectivity to I think we're fine. Because I've been so immersed in nothing but this. It makes it look scary because I'm surrounded in a bubble of this right now. So I don't know how far out that bubble goes.
Sure.
But so I'll go back because as you all know, I am definitely glass half full guy. The shot that was heard around the world, which is this one, has brought so much attention, not just to another shooting, but to the root cause of the shooting. And that's why we're talking about it. And we're not the only ones hopefully going to be talking about this. It's we need to do something. And I'm so sick of people, oh, it's mental health issue. No, it's okay. Yes, mental health issues, but no one's ever doing anything. They're just labeling it. It's a gun issue. Yeah, okay. But all these things that we've done before, it's a bad science experiment because nothing we've done has worked. Yeah. And so you really got to think hard of what is the dire root cause of this, because once you can get that going, all else will fall in place again. And so I'm hopeful because I know lots of people that don't fall into this, but I know some that potentially, and I say that word potentially could, but I think, and I talked to my kids about this who are in this age group, and I also do online gaming, but not near the extent of these guys. There are a lot of things in place for speech being flagged, for people being aware of these things, for people doing the right things and shutting this kind of thing down. So I know there are definitely things that are going very right with a lot of people. So it's not just all doom and gloom. If you go online, it's a horrible place to be. I mean, I was just playing last night. That's completely fine. All age levels. We're talking, my age, lower, higher, all over the place. Yeah. And I was really curious what you're going to expect. And actually, the kindness and generosity towards others is very prevalent. So I'm hoping that it is a problem. It is a challenge. It's scary because it's not in a sleeper cell. But that's also the positive here. It's not like a secret society we're trying to penetrate. Yeah. This is way out there. Anyone can join these things and kind of get a deeper understanding of what's going on. And that falls then on law enforcement to do deeper dives and have the resources to do this.
Well, I mean, we can keep catching them, maybe beforehand if we, can figure that out quicker, or after, unfortunately. But that doesn't fix the problem. Right. What needs to change here in society? Because I certainly think we need to get some grip on this. But the direction that we're seeing thus far, I mean, shutting up comedians is not necessarily going to fix our problem here.
No, I think, like you said, we just have to have people, and everyone can model the way. And it's the Chinese use when it comes to stealing intelligence. They have this philosophy of, we are going to steal the entire beach of sand, one grain at a time. And to think that one little grain that you have is insignificant, by itself, it might feel that way. But when you put it in the hourglass to build an hourglass of a timer, over time, you have a full hourglass. And same thing with anything. So I think it's just people not becoming intolerant of people that aren't curious. Yeah. Just be curious about people who aren't curious. I think we model the way, and people like us model the way of how we are. I mean, look what we're doing here. We're constantly questioning this. What's this? What's this? Why does this happen? Every time something happens in life, ask yourself, what can we do to understand this deeper from that context? Every time I hear anything, I become so curious about what causes this, and challenge yourself to do that. Challenge people around you to do that. So, because the overarching anchors of what we can do as a society, I think Congress could actually come together and put incentives in place for companies to actually have communication people in place that actually are skilled in the art of the Socratic method, or skilled in the art of recognizing how to have civil discourse and recognizing when it starts going down the path of the dark triad. Mandating these, I don't like mandate. I like incentivize. When you incentivize people with tax breaks, when you incentivize schools with more resources, when you incentivize people to take actions that are not only in their best interest, but the best interest of the organization, institution, individuals. And that best action is not just going to reward you monetarily and physically for your establishment, but all the people mentally in their brain. I mean, we will create such a mental health paradise, because now we're going to have all the brains around us being rewarded because they're on this path of discovery. And all it takes is people from those two sides I don't even like mentioning coming together and say, all we have to do is incentivize people to be curious everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them to do that? How do you get them to take that step that it's not just me versus you? How do we get both sides to come together in the middle?
Especially with the younger people. I want to add that into that too, because I'm like, when we're talking about in a corporate setting or something like that, the cookies are already baked. These are adults that have a lot of this has to go back into the recipe. We need to change the recipe of how we're raising these kids and how we're developing these minds and giving them outlets and understanding that to be curious, not to feel like they're so isolated this way or that way. I agree with everything you're saying, but I feel like, okay, great, but let's go back to the original recipe. Otherwise, we're just going to keep putting more toppings on cookies that are already baked.
I don't normally say anything during these sessions, but I want to say something that I experienced in the last couple of years of my life, and that is local involvement in your community.
Yep.
And especially if you're an adult, get involved in your community to do something good. Work with young students, work with young sports players, athletes. Get involved in some way where you're making a difference in their lives. And all of a sudden you see these kids doing the same thing in their life. They're helping other people. They're getting involved. They're looking for ways to be involved in their community to feed the hungry, help the people that need help out there. Whatever it is that you're interested in, get involved locally, because that's how we change things, is on a local level. And then it kind of spreads out from there. Just my thought.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I'm with you on that, Todd, because all I was going to add on to what Tony's question was in congruence with this is, it, like you said, Tony, it's the grassroots on this is it starts with parents. And it's not about putting labels of what parents are doing right or wrong. I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call, and I don't like it, but fear is the greatest motivator there is of human beings. It motivates us to do everything. It's why our greatest thing that we're always doing, we're always going to take actions in our own best interest in terms of our safety, security, and prosperity, safety being that number one thing. If as a parent today, watching or listening to this, you're afraid of what your kids may or may not do, or the kids around them may or may not do, here's a solution. Be curious with them. That's all you got to start doing. When you model that behavior, kids will do what they're taught to do. They will model behaviors that they model. I am so fortunate that my wife was the one that modeled this behavior in our family as I'm off working and doing crazy stuff around the world and tried to be that dad. I love we are so close in a family, but my kids are so good in life and would never entertain things like this because they're so rooted with life reps at that early developmental ages, between the ages of 9 and 24, of being curious, of us never saying, do as I say because I say,
right?
Of saying, hey, here's our rule. Are you curious about what the rule is for? Are you curious about, why we do X, Y, and Z? There was never just because that kills curiosity. It's like, here's the rationale before it. And there was always an interrogation, not interrogation like, tell me, confess. No, interrogation means being actively inquisitive about what it is we're doing, why we're doing it. And just some people agree with it, don't agree. I was all about partnering with my kids. So I was a resource for them on the path that they wanted to choose without judging a path. And if someone or something came into their lives that I felt was unhealthy, I never said, don't see them. You can't do this. You can't do this. I said, help me understand this. Inquisitive. Yep. You told me you want to achieve and do X, Y, and Z. You told me you're trying to do this. Help me understand. Is this helping you or hindering you from what it is you're trying to walk, the path you're trying to walk?
Sure.
It made them think.
Yeah.
Start there.
And it's something that, it's easy to lump it going, well, kids are thinking this way, get off my lawn. But at the same point, it has to, exactly what Todd was saying, it has to be modeled by the older generations as well. And we can be just as caught up in this shit as they are too. I'm isolated. Oh, you're good over there? You're occupied with your device, so I don't have to spend my time worrying about you because you're over here. Okay, great. And, at a restaurant or something, sometimes it's nice. There are places where it's like, okay, they're good for a few moments, I can do it. But unfortunately, that convenience, I think, for a lot of adults and a lot of parents, and I'm guilty of it too, I think every parent is, to a certain extent, of relying on this a bit too much and relaxing what we may have to do as our responsibility as parents and as adults to the next generation to help them because, well, they're good over there, I'm good over here. eventually we all just go back to what is hitting our own dopamine levels, no matter what age you are or generation you're talking about. It is very much about coming out and being present and being there for that younger generation and demonstrating healthy behavior. I don't think we're doing a lot of that.
No.
Need more. Much, much more.
The acceptance of a lot of things. I mean, it turns into kind of an erasure of boundaries sometimes. How does that create chaos and make space for violence like something like this?
What do you mean by that, Tony? It sounds like something I said.
It is. I mean, you had mentioned about that there seems to be an erasure of boundaries in our society right now, or there has been for quite some time. And then when it goes too far, there is no cause and effect, or people don't even see effect sometimes. It's just cause. It's just the moment. Expand on that a little bit.
So one thing I remember, I have a couple of more good friends of mine. One, his name is Joe Navarro, world-renowned nonverbal expert. And one of his other friends that I'm friends with also is Dr. Abby Morano. And I remember we were talking one time on one of the podcasts I was hosting. We were talking about it gets to this point about the emotion of shame. And shame, I have another good friend of mine who's an amazing interviewer and interrogator and communicator. And one of the things that you always avoid if you're trying to inspire someone to confess information, or you're trying to inspire someone to take action, whether it's influence, persuade, or any of those hooky, spooky spy things you want to do, is one thing you never want to do is show someone their shame, things they're ashamed of doing, because shame is a powerful motivator, because shame says we're being judged and judged in a negative way. And so it's something you don't want to do if you're trying to make a connection. But I remember Dr. Abby had said this on the show. She had said, but shame is an important thing we have as a species, because without shame means we have no boundaries either. Mm-hmm. And so I was relating the two when I'm relating to this kind of situation where it's like accepted by this group of people that are in this assassination culture that it's okay to kill someone if you don't agree with them. That really comes down to me, a lack of boundaries of right or wrong, because they don't associate shame with an abhorrent behavior. It's accepted. And so I think this kind of comes down to, again, pure conjecture and theory on this. If you become it sounds so bad, the more accepting you are of everyone, which is one of my huge tenets, non-judgmental validation of human beings. That is a huge tenet of mine. But there is a limit, apparently, that I was unaware of, that if you are so accepting of everyone in their way of life, their way of thinking, that then starts crossing the moral and ethical bounds where that non-judgmentalism is going to affect the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of someone else. That's the boundary. And so I think that's what boundary I'm talking about here is when you have a lack of boundaries and you're so accepting that morals and ethics and the ability to allow others to live a self and healthy, prosperous life, we do have a limit. And that is the limit of that boundary, is that, hey, you think what you want to think, you believe what you want to do, you do what you want to do with your life and with others, as long as we maintain as a species our moral and ethical boundaries that we're not going to infringe upon the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of those around us.
Sure.
What a novel concept.
Yeah, and that's something.
Yeah.
I want to, a lot of people are talking about the text exchange, and I don't know what to think of it. This is what we have.
Yep.
And look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to go down that road. But it does look weird. And I think a lot of people are feeling like this doesn't look like a text exchange between two 20-some-year-old young men. It doesn't.
No.
Now, could it be? Yes, it could be that simple. And that's what's making this so weird, is to think that it is just so off. And the answer to this really is just, it's not as complex as I think a lot of people would think it would be for the impact that this thing made. That the horrible impact of the decision this kid made. But I mean, when we read through it, it's bizarre. And I know you've read through it. I've read through it. We've all read through it. I know that we need to go directly line by line. Anyone can go read it. But what was your first impression when you first saw this text exchange between these two people? What did you think?
And I see your comment, rock and rolla, and I know other people said on the conspiracy side of this. So my first impression is it's true, it's accurate.
Okay.
And again, I always gotta. So why? So what's my rationale? Again, the what question. What's my rationale? Believe in that, because to me, his arc of what we saw through his behavior from the 1 week planning of this to the execution of this to thinking that the cops have moved on and won't find the rifle with a towel around it in the woods, to thinking that he left no evidence as he's climbing off the side of a building. And so there's a lot of data points that said he might have been book smart, intelligent, according to some, but his awareness and life reps were very, very low. I don't think he was a great strategist because he didn't display great strategy in this. Mm-hmm. And so taking that to the next level of, do I think he's capable and would have pre-thought out a scripted thing to save his partner who then gave him up like this? I don't think so. It just doesn't. Now, I always say the word maybe because I am always open to, again, because of the Socratic method, I'm open to dialogue about other people's opinions of it. I'll never rule anything out unless we hear it from him that it wasn't. But it to him to kind of script out this well-crafted thing to try to save his roommate when he thought he was going to get away with it himself. Remember, he actually says, I thought I would take this to my grave.
I would die of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am sorry. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude. I mean, it like reads as the most clear-cut confession letter and explanation of this in history of any sort of horrible event that just, okay, here's all your answers, everybody. He did it for this reason. He feels this way. He didn't think he was going to get caught. He left the weapon. I think I'm going to go back and get it. I mean, it's insanely stupid. I guess what, and again, sometimes again, stupidity, inept, incompetency oftentimes does masquerade as conspiracy. It can look very, very similar.
Yeah, we see so much in our cases. That's why I'm like, so this fits a pattern of stupid that we've seen so many times. That's why it's more likely people love to because people were so affected by the assassination, and just that word assassination has a connotation of planning, thought, especially when you take out such a notable figure like a Charlie Kirk or President Trump or
any high profile anything,
that requires some sort of high level mastermind that you want it to be, that so it has some meaning, or that this guy, I think it is he's as plain dumb as a 22-year-old as you're seeing right here. I really think it's that surface. I don't think there's a lot going on here. I said it from the very beginning too, that this, people are calling this a professional hit. No, it wasn't. So think about this. If this was so well planned out and he's trying to protect someone, he's trying to take out Charlie Kirk, why would he have done this with 3,000 people with cell phones looking? Why would he have done it on a school camp? I mean, it just makes no sense.
He seemed to think ahead enough on certain aspects, but then like completely devoid of thought on others, I guess is kind of what gets to me. Where it's, I'm going to change my clothes. Okay, well, it seems like you got some sort of planning going on here where you're thinking a bit ahead of trying not to get caught. But you're literally at a place with all these people with phones. There's cameras everywhere. Of course, something happens like this, it's going to get locked down like that, and people are going to start searching. You can't just necessarily wander out of there with a weapon. So he dumps the weapon and then thinks he's going to go back for. But again, I hear you completely. Where we feel like
in a video game,
it worked in a video game, and you would think our brains are searching for a bigger meaning behind this, or a bigger planning, or something. Not just this idiot who doesn't really plan shit very well to go out and do something like this. I mean, it's weird. It feels weird.
It feels unfulfilling. That's
completely.
But I think it really was. Most of these things are. 37 hours. Yeah. 37 hours, and it wasn't because you had geniuses all of a sudden started working this case. It's just people did what they regularly do when they worked this case. Granted, there's a lot of attention on it, and you had directors and then assistant directors and all the world coming out to try to put on a good face for this and all those things. But it was really a pretty, from my optic, you had 6 law enforcement officers that were university law enforcement that were there for protection. And you had a lot of cell phones. You had a lot of leads coming in, and you worked the case, and bam, this is what happens. He starts seeing his face all over the place. He decides he doesn't want to die. And so he has his parents surrender him. That comes down to someone who's shocked he was caught. And so someone who's shocked he was caught, his pre-thought and plan to save his roommate, who apparently didn't necessarily, and again, I'm using conjecture here, I've never seen any live-in partner give up someone so fast.
He seems genuinely shocked. Like, you did what?
And then spills everything. Cooperating. That's why I think it's part of this whole thing. He's surrounded by a lot of people with a lot of in that healthy parameter board, realm. That's why this to me, this text message. I mean, his partner seemed as shocked by this as everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, you're left leaning. His parents say he's left leaning. Okay. There's a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people hate Charlie Kirk. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if he shocked himself by doing this. He seems like he almost shocked himself that he went through with this.
Do you think he had a death wish? Did he think he was going to end up getting shot and this is how he was going to go out? Was there so much just self-hate going on in this guy?
Suicidal ideation is always part of this with a lot of these stuff, but not all. I mean, he had an escape plan. He wanted to get away. Yeah. He's got a suicide vest on now. Again, when you lack purpose in life, you become comme ci, comme ça on it. I mean, it's literally kind of flipping about your life and the life of others because you're like, what's the purpose? So I think he's kind of riding that edge.
But why leave a note then?
Oh, yeah, fair point.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the first case we talked about where things just don't make a lot of sense. I mean, most cases, most times someone ends up dead. There's some sort of chaos involved and a broken brain and some way of thinking that doesn't add up to the rest of us, which is why someone ends up dead, because somebody was very, very off on their thinking, on their problem-solving skills. What does this mean, for the future of events and things of that nature? I mean, obviously we've all lived through 9/11, every single one of us here in many different ways. You were right there. We were in a studio. And then in the years after, we saw security dramatically change at every aspect of our lives. And I got to say, almost 25 years later, it's pretty lax compared to what we used to be seeing, and in some ways it's like, oh, this feels kind of good. There's not metal detectors every time I walk into a park or something. I remember, there were all those things. I remember going to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and wanting to look at the locks of the boats that were coming through between Canada and the U.S. And there was a park right there, and it's barbed wired, and it's like a fortress. And this used to be just this beautiful little park. And it was like, well, I guess this is kind of how we live today. That's all changed, because, time has made a lot of people forget, unfortunately, the lengths as to which we went. And that some could argue maybe we went too far. What does this event mean for the future of security and hardening down really anything, from a Christmas parade to someone making a speech that may be politically charged?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a real big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the pragmatic side of it is anytime you do an event like this, you have to have an insurance company insure it. And so I don't know what that's going to do to it. That's going to up the cost and it's going to up requirements for law enforcement presence, security presence, and the requirements for them, which is going to up costs everywhere as everything in life. And so it's going to maybe exacerbate the problem of everyone's having economically, right?
Yeah.
Or it'll also scare people away from doing these things. And at the other time, though, too, kind of, Robin and us doing the glass half full in this, I'm hoping it's going to encourage people to be curious about how to actually have a civil discourse. So, it's important to do these things. Our progress as a species comes about because we have people that are these, social justice warriors, like the ones I mentioned earlier on. But they had a methodology that was extremely effective. If people are looking for change, there's a way to do it that's really, really effective. And it isn't this. Not one time in the course of our species, did the research on this, has anyone been effective at successfully influencing social justice by assassination?
Yeah.
Not once.
Nope.
And so hopefully this gets people to really be curious about how to have a great conversation about them, not about yourself. So
yeah, screaming at each other, shooting each other, that doesn't usually fix much of anything. and silencing each other doesn't fix anything either. That's I think very important too in this, because I think that's a scary road that we might be walking down right now.
Yeah.
It is.
That and at the end of the day, doesn't seem like what Charlie Kirk was about. He was about conversation. He was about discourse. Agree with him, disagree with him, whatever it may be. It wasn't you shut the fuck up and we're going to make sure you can't be heard. And unfortunately, it feels like that's what this is being used for.
Just watch. I've watched because I've seen so many clips of it now. Watch the great conversation between Charlie Kirk and Bill Maher.
Yeah. I think I told you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it so many times. And even between him and Gavin Newsom. I mean, it's really, really good chess. And granted, the Socratic method was not infused throughout it, but there's moments in there. Again, this isn't about going from 0 to 100 from, okay, I'm not questioning anything to learning how to question and being curious. No, it was infused. There's a desire to want to. People aren't looking for you to be perfect. They're looking for you to make an effort. They're not looking for anything but effort and a willingness and desire to find out a little bit more about how you think about something. That's it. And so hopefully this starts it down a better path. And to some of these points here, but I'm on that text message, and Stacey, you brought up a great point. Who leaves that if they didn't expect to? I don't know. That was just my initial take on it. Again, just because of the arc I'm seeing from everything else from him and people like him in the past. I don't like giving killers any credit for being smart on anything. So I'm always going to have the negative confirmation bias that they're idiots. They didn't plan anything and they suck.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Great half full glass there, Robin. I like that one.
Very official language.
Yeah, I know. My professional terminology is really off sometimes.
I also
they double down on stupid.
Robin has another great one that I've always loved, and it's nutter.
Nutter.
It's another nutter for someone that's crazy. I like that one.
Nutter.
Love it.
Robin, as always, thank you for coming on and talking about what you've witnessed this week and your thoughts. It's always very valuable. I know our audience greatly appreciates it, as do us. So thank you so much. If you're looking for some books over the weekend to read, Robin has quite a few. This is his latest one, Unbreakable Alliances. Check it out wherever books are sold. Sizing People Up and The Code of Trust. All great. If you want to, if you're listening to him going, I'd love to hear more, check those out. They are all excellent reads. Have a great weekend, Robin. I'm sure we'll be texting and figuring out the problems of the world as we always do.
As the four of us solve the problems of the world, at least be inspiring to hopefully people who want to.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Robin. We're going to move on now. Recent court documents and online discussions have revealed more harrowing specifics about the case of Jordan and Harley Hoffman from Lake City, Florida, which started as a seemingly ordinary couple, the 33-year-old firefighter, 27-year-old real estate agent. On the surface, looked at their Instagram pages and all that, and, nothing really stands out as really weird. It's exposed now, a hidden world of depravity. And I want to say this as we go into this story, you guys, and we'll do this one for about 25 minutes or so. be careful on your language on how we describe these things,
Right.
so we don't get flagged on YouTube. So we'll use terms like SA. We can't use the term that starts with a B that involves animals and people, must-loving dogs, way too much. So those sort of terms we have to kind of walk around because of the overlords at YouTube that don't like those words.
And let me preface something too. Yeah. I make no secret that I am a licensed veterinary technician. The story absolutely destroys me. So I'm going to be very limited. I will give you some opinions, but my
people
goodness.
Are like, what are we about to hear about? Because we haven't even gone into the story yet. Well, it's been exposed that a hidden world, allegedly, these people have been charged. They haven't been convicted as of yet, of a world of depravity involving child SA material and... Oh, I don't know. The only way I can say it is a very unhealthy must-love dogs. Yeah. As of September 18th, 2025, no major court updates have emerged since early September, but the leaked arrest reports and affidavits paint a very vivid, disturbing picture about what is going on here. It adds a real layer to just how off this was. Jordan Hoffman joined Columbia County Fire Rescue in 2013, building a decade-long career in a role that demands trust and heroism. Harley, she worked as a real estate agent, and on her pictures, let's pull up the
are her pictures like on park benches and buses too? That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, if you saw this couple and they got 2 kids. You're thinking, okay, it's it looks like any random couple with their kids that you'd see on Facebook. Well, it turns out things weren't quite exactly the case. No. As we dig deeper into this, a cyber tip flagged a Snapchat account that was tied to Jordan, sharing an image of a child in not a good way. The follow-up tip confirmed more shares. On August 25th, Jordan was arrested on initial charges of possession of CSAM and promoting that sort of material, unlawful use of a two-way device and evidence tampering. He attempted to delete the images, but the phone was seized and they were able to get the images off of there. It then also involved images involving animals, dogs specifically, and people.
Don't you have enough to do as a firefighter and a real estate agent? Don't you have enough in your life that
you'd think? I got to ask you guys. I mean, when you first heard about this story, or when I sent it to you, what the hell's going through your mind? I mean, I sent everybody their Instagram accounts to look at as well. To me, I'm just going to say my initial reaction on this was, there's got to be more to this. Like, this just seems so crazy and extreme, but maybe it's not. Maybe this, I mean, I don't know. Innocent until proven guilty. But I'd love to know more details of what the hell is going on here, that this seems to be the great idea in someone's life.
Keep in mind, too, that Instagram especially, people craft a very careful image to put out there. So we are not seeing even a fraction of what this life is like. Who knows? I mean, everything just looks so perfect. Picture perfect. You know, their little picture outside the house with,
it looks like 95% of people's Instagrams.
Exactly, it does. So who knows what's going on behind the curtain? And, well, obviously we're finding out, and it's really disturbing.
Yeah.
I think I know people like this family, like everything is perfect. We have to have the perfect party where we're doing a baby reveal where, look, everybody, look what we've done. And I think when you take a peek behind that curtain, you go, ooh.
But I don't think it goes this dark, does it? I mean, you worked as a vet tech for a long time. I mean, here's some of the details. And I'll say them as vanilla-y as I can, without getting flagged. These are the allegations, okay? Allegedly. And I'm saying that because I feel this is such a weird story. The allegations that are floating around out there, videos showing him holding and engaging dogs' parts. Also, I guess using one's mouth on the dog. Also, dog to human contact, not on the mouth. And forced acts with stuff.
Oh my God!
Well, you're really dancing today, Tony.
I don't know how to do this, because it's like with stuff, with a liquid that comes out of people's bodies, being shown here. And the allegation is that there's also images of the dog licking parts, all shared via Snapchat. Allegedly.
And here's where my brain goes.
And there's children and not
yes,
necessarily
exactly.
the animals. And I'm not trying to jump over that at all.
Right.
But there is images with the allegations are, it says a local child. So I don't know what that means, if it means their own children, or I don't know the answer to that question. I think that's very much up in the air. Again, these are all allegations, and I want to be very, very clear on that.
The other thing I'd like to point out here is that, yes, animals, we have them sleep in our beds and occupy our homes. But when we start intertwining I'm going to be careful here, our bodily fluids with one another, you are asking for some serious trouble. You really are.
Yeah, you're going to make a half dog, half human. That would be really weird.
Not that. I'm just thinking of great. And there's
the password is.
I think Mr. McFeely is here. You better go get that.
Speedy delivery.
Speedy delivery. Because of this conversation. What do I do? Do I answer the door?
You go get the door, right?
Get the door and you let them in, and we're going to start asking you a lot of questions where you have to use a lot of weird words.
Oh my God. All right. I'm going to go get the door. I'm muting myself. But yeah, dogs have bacteria, so you want to be careful, okay?
You want to be careful, just in case you're thinking this weekend, maybe that might be the fun thing to do.
When you sent this, Tony, I was like, how the hell do we even talk about this? Because like you said, it's really weird, but I will say this, and we kind of talked about it yesterday in some conversation about small towns and some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I think we're always surprised that stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
But it's obviously out there. And again, it's all allegations. They've been charged and all that. But it sounds like on the forensic side, as far as having some actual evidence, it sounds like they've got it.
It does.
And that just makes me sad and sick to my stomach. That's how it makes me feel.
They can't deny this. By the way, I'm back. They're going to come back on Monday and install a new dishwasher. So Monday at 3:00. Because I told them we talk about some really raunchy stuff.
Hey, Todd, I think we should record at 3:00 on Monday. We're going to change the recording time.
Let's do a special episode at 3:00 on Monday.
On a very special Hidden Killers Live.
That's right.
Bestiality edition.
Terrific story we can find just for the embarrassment's sake. But back to my point. I hope I don't derail this. But one thing, yes, what they did was horrific and awful and disgusting and terrible and all of those things. But again, you don't want to be doing that kind of thing with an animal. I mean, this sounds terrible, but animals have some bacteria that you just don't want to be getting in your mouth. Okay. You just don't. So there's a lot of facets to this story that are just red flag everywhere. This is just disgusting. It's gross. It's horrific. It's all of the things. But here's the other part that I'm not seeing in the story is what's happened to these people. I mean, could they get worms from the dog? I mean, there's just...
Did they get worms from the dog? Is that the question you're asking? Well, and let me ask you this then, too. Do you just take some Frontline if you're a person? Does that fix that?
No, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't. But I mean, there's so many other factors here that aren't being taken into consideration. This is a horrible story. And
how do you get from zero to people? How do you get from zero to must F dogs? I do not. I mean, I'm gonna guess. I don't know. I don't know. My only thought was like,
suggest that we need to involve the dog.
is this a generational thing? Is this something that's passed down? Like, well, my grandpappy liked goats, my dad liked Dobermans, and I happen to like collies.
Well,
I want to know
Tony
who decided we should involve the dog.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Tony, and you know this just from our background in radio and some of the nasty jokes that have been said over the years. That I guess that picture in your mind of the farmer, of the goat. I mean, this has been going on. I hate to tell you guys this, probably for a long frickin' time. They used to talk about the shepherds out in the field with their sheeps and all. I mean, it's been that punchline for so many jokes for generations.
It has.
It comes from someplace.
I've used it in jokes over the years. I've used it in prank phone calls over the years.
Do you have one of those available to play today?
I don't.
Dang it.
But my God, I mean, because when I was like 17 doing rock radio, I would prank call people all the time. And it usually, I mean, I for whatever reason, the idea of this is so absurd. I find it humor, not abusing children or animals.
Right.
I don't find any of it
No.
humorous. The concept of someone being loving an animal to that degree, and I say loving in air quotes because I can't be more explicit.
But there's nothing
it's so
loving
absurd.
about this. This is abuse.
It's complete abuse. Yes, and look, I'm only using that term because for censorship, so we don't get flagged.
Sure.
It's just so absurd. It just kind of like, what? It's like, this happens. But you're right, Todd. I mean, these stories have been around forever, and it's so insanely absurd. I got to ask you this, Stacey, because I'm sure a lot of people are probably wondering this. Working in the vet world, is this common? Have you ever had a situation where you were concerned maybe somebody bringing their pet in might be doing something with the pets?
I worked 8 years in a private clinic, corporate-owned clinic. I can tell you there was one case, and I didn't see it. I heard about it, where a wife was accusing the husband of...
Loving?
Yeah. But there was no physical evidence of it, and there would have been. It was a smaller dog. So... Yeah. I think it was just a vengeful wife trying to get her husband into trouble. But
so she goes to the vet and accuses her husband of doing the dog to the vet?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So how is it handled?
I mean, seriously, Stacey, in a situation where it's humans, there's some investigation that has to happen if there's allegations, right? Do they investigate this kind of thing too?
They can, yeah. They can do cultures to see what's present. They can look for, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, stretching of certain areas, tears, that kind of thing. So it's basically an SA exam like you would do in an emergency room for a human. It's looking for signs that something has been, I guess, for lack of a better term, violated.
So how do you address that with the woman at the front going, I think my husband's doing it?
Well, how did your phone call go on that prank call, Tony? Is that what you did?
He got fired, didn't he?
Never done that one. No, I didn't get fired for that. No.
Okay.
But yeah, I saw some abuse, nothing like this.
Yeah.
And when I say abuse, I'm talking about somebody
like striking an animal or like malnutrition and that sort of
that kind of thing.
But again, how was this handled with the lady? That's the question. How did that conversation go? Did you have the conversation? Did somebody else have the conversation?
No, the medical director did, and I think they did involve the police at one point just to make sure that they were covering their bases. I was very hands off on that.
Yeah.
It was just such a yucky situation because every time they came in, they were screaming at each other. This was a couple that needed to be apart all the time. So would I assume that she was telling the truth? I don't know. I like to believe people, but I also think she was trying to get her husband into trouble because we just didn't see any signs. This was not a dog that was terrified of anybody. Didn't seem like there was any issues. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but we just didn't see the signs of it. So I don't think it was ever pursued. It was a long time ago, but I've seen abuse but nothing
Sure.
like this.
Yeah. I again, this is just, like we were talking earlier in the other case, it's like, it's so extreme. It's so out there. And the profile that exists of these people in the ether shows nothing of this. So when you think of something like this happening, if you have to think of something like this happening, this is not the exact image that is conjured up in your minds. But I don't know what image would be conjured up in one's mind to fit a profile.
Well, it's not this, because this looks like your neighbor. This looks like, can you, Todd, put that picture up. To me, that second one where they're holding the picture of the ultrasound and it says it's a girl, that reminds me of people this time of year who put the sign out that says autumn or fall on their front doorstep, and they've got the pumpkins. And
they're standing in front of shiplap.
Exactly.
That's the problem right there. That's what you look, whenever there's a weird thing going on in life, if there's shiplap in that person's life, that's where the problem starts.
That person watched way too much Joanna Gaines.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
Here's the thing, though. We talked a little bit about social media with Charlie Kirk's assassin. Is that where this starts? I mean, it's got to start there, right? There's got to be some connection. We're talking about Snapchat here. Has social media allowed this to grow because the connection is available now? Where like before, great grandpa Jones, who was a shepherd, did some stuff, but he couldn't meet up with other shepherds who enjoyed the same thing. Cause how do you bring that up at the local
shepherds?
Right. Yeah. And you can't bring it up at the local tavern. So how do you say, hey, Jeb, how'd you like to,
I got a new flock that just came in the
Exactly.
other day.
And one of them's damn cute. Let me tell you.
Her name is Lefty. She kind of limps on the left paw over there, her hoof, and you got.
She can't run too fast, so she, I don't know, like
tree. I mean, yeah.
Again, we're probably talking about a situation where social media has made something like this even easier to grow in our society.
People can find community for anything.
Apparently.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. I mean,
right.
It's good in many ways, but it's not when it's something really depraved.
Right.
It's something that's dangerous and harmful to other living creatures. But you get enough people in that echo chamber of like, this is what we like to do. No matter how insane it may be, if you have enough people normalizing it, I guess at some point in many people's minds, it becomes normalized. And whatever should be kicking in, saying this is messed up. This is nothing I'm going to be a part of. Doesn't seem to work.
I'm fine with consenting adults doing whatever the hell they want to do. Leave kids and animals out of it.
Sure.
I don't understand why they had to pull in helpless creatures. We need to be the voice for children and for animals. We need to protect them.
How does this even
protect
begin?
Themselves.
How does this even begin? Like
that's my question. Like, does one partner in this relationship go, hey, maybe the dog can take part? The other person at this point should go, whoa, time out. I'm not into this. What are you talking about? And apparently I'm assuming, I'm making an assumption here, but they've got 70 felony charges combined. Yeah. This is not a couple that one person's like, I'm not taking part in this.
It's strange enough that one person would be into this. It's even weirder that you have two that seem to happen to align, unless this has always been a thing. And they've known this like from the get-go that, oh, you're into that too? And we'll raise our family. Again, the whole damn thing just feels so weird. And not just because of what it is, it just feels like, is this true? It's like, are these people being framed by something or somebody for some horrible reason with this ridiculous story? Or is it just true?
But how do you fake the metadata? How do you fake that?
Right.
Our device.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
devices rat us out. And
if there's images of it involving them, if there is, I mean, you can't really, the Stefan Stearns thing, the Maddie Soto case, that was humans. It was child abuse, but it was there. There was no arguing, and it was on his phone, and it was him and it was her. And when you have that sort of proof, I mean, I know you got AI and all that too, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, this just, It's so bizarre. They're both in Columbia County Jail now. There's no bond. Arraignments are pending. No pleas as of yet. Chief Gerard Butler said, we'll follow every lead. Life sentences do loom. Is one more into it than the other? Is one going to flip on the other? I don't know. Firehouse colleagues blindsided by this. I mean, imagine that one. The firefighter turns out, guess who? And especially if you knew their pets, like if Sparky came by the fire station every now and then you're like, oh my God, I'm really. There was when I moved to Wichita years ago, when I was there, it was a really interesting first 24 hours of this news stories that were popping up and the stories that people wanted to tell me about the city. And one of the early stories that I saw on the TV station was about this, not this case, obviously, but it was about somebody and somebody's pet, like the neighbor's pet. And the testimonial that was aired, and I'm like, who did this story? How do you do this story? Was the neighbor going and saying, why did you let him do it to you, Snuggles? And then the camera literally pans to the dog. I'm like, am I watching the Onion News? Or like, what the hell is this? It was the real news. It's real. It's real.
We talk about a lot of yucky stories, but I think this might be my icky story of the week award right here.
Yeah.
All right. I want if I had an award to actually place in front of me so that you could actually see it, it's definitely the icky story of the week.
You should get like a bowling trophy from Goodwill. And then
I'll find one.
Every week, here's Todd's icky story of the week award.
I'm down for it. Yep.
I like that. I think we've discussed everything on this.
Yeah.
I don't know where else to go. So we'll leave it at that. And there's something to occupy your mind this weekend a little bit while you're contemplating the state of the world. On top of that, Brian Walshe. Let's go to that case. This is the Ana Walshe case. Ana Walshe murdered at the very beginning of 2023. The Walshe marriage unraveled in late 2022. Things were starting to fall apart for Brian and Ana, and they're quite cohasse at home. Ana was a driven 39-year-old real estate exec, splitting her time between her high-stakes job in D.C. and their 3 young boys. Brian is 48. He had stepped back from his art world gigs to handle dad duties, but he was carrying a lot of baggage from a federal fraud conviction for art fraud that had him on probation. Rumors swirled about Ana seeing someone in D.C., and she was confiding in friends that she was ready to leave the marriage once Brian's legal troubles caught up. The New Year's Eve rolled around, and they had a few friends over for a little simple dinner. Everyone leaves around 1:30 a.m., and that's the last confirmed sighting of Ana alive. By morning, Brian was telling everyone who asked about her that she got a sudden work call around 6 a.m. on New Year's Day and rushed off to D.C. Her phone pinged one final time at 3:14 a.m. right near the house and then went silent forever. No one at her office had any record of an emergency trip. It was like she just stepped out of her life. That's the way that Brian explained it right away. Very, very casual, little too neat for something so sudden. But we hear excuses like this a lot in life from folks. Well, this happened, and you think nothing of it until it, like, the evidence starts piling up of where is she. And when you look at the rumors of Ana's affair and Brian's probation hanging over him, how do you think those sort of pressures might have pushed their fights from arguments to something a lot darker?
Well, he's the one who was spotted at Home Depot, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay. Yeah, that's a process. I mean, I need to go to Home Depot for some stuff, and I'm putting it off. So
you should never buy, like a bunch of things that may look like you're hiding or concealing a body all at once. Brian put it all in the same cart. Brian's story about the work call was very rehearsed, obviously. But he had a history of hustles and heartbreak. He didn't come into it with a blank slate. His life was already a string of shortcuts and follow-up. He grew up comfortable. His father was a prominent neurosurgeon at Mass General. Brian turned into the habit of basically bending the truth. By his 20s, he was deep into forging art, selling fake Andy Warhols, like one does. And sketches online for serious money. Then in 2018, his dad dies, left him nothing in the will, explicitly calling him out as manipulative and dishonest. Brian takes it to court, fights hard, loses everything. The family all pretty much looks, I mean, look at the guy. I mean, this is the guy, yeah. You fast forward to 2021, federal charges hit for wire fraud because he'd been running these art scams through Anna's eBay account without her knowledge. He pleads guilty, ends up on probation with house arrest and an ankle monitor. And he's supposed to turn life around. I don't blame her for having an affair and wanting to get the hell out of this marriage. It wasn't a good choice, but they have kids together.
Right.
He doesn't turn anything around. He's quietly pawning a friend's Rolex for cash, allegedly. Anna starts opening up to girlfriends about how toxic it all feels, says she's done once he's facing real jail time. Even Brian's mother allegedly gets involved, hiring a private investigator to tail Anna in D.C. and confirm the affair suspicions. It was like his past deceptions were starting to catch up, squeezing the life out of what was left of the family. The irony of using Anna's account for this, it kind of hits hard. I mean, it's betrayal layered on betrayal. Mm-hmm. What's your take on this relationship? I find it interesting that when you look at an individual like this, it says a lot that Brian's mom is allegedly hiring a PI to tail Anna to get her in that dishonesty of having an affair, while her little angel boy over here is doing art fraud, is basically on house arrest, and she's having to basically pull the load for the family while he's over here. But we got to make sure she's the bad guy, not him. I mean, it says a lot about,
doesn't it?
It says a lot about his being enabled throughout his life of poor choices.
What did you say, Stacey? Sounded like Donna?
Yeah, feels a little Adelson-like.
Yeah.
It does.
So I'm wondering, did mom play a huge role in some things here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering a lot about what exactly led to this man making the choices he makes and thinking it's going to work out. Obviously, all roads lead to narcissism. And it feels like, oh, well, this is where the apple didn't fall very far from the tree. I know nothing about the woman, so I don't know. But if you're hiring but again, you also have to look at it from the aspect of if he's the narcissist, what sort of story is he spinning to mom about what's going on in life? And his mom, you're going to be on your kid's side for the most part. So who knows? She may have, been another victim of his BS too.
And all three of us, I think I can say this openly, have been in relationships where you come out the other side and you're like, why didn't I see that? How did I miss this? Why, so there's been some stuff online about how did she put up with that for so long? Well, sometimes, even if it's right in your face, you don't necessarily see it for whatever reason that is.
Yeah.
It's the frog in the boiling pot and
okay, I don't understand.
The newly recovered frog.
I don't know what the frog in the boiling pot means. You got to explain that one to me. I'm not from the country.
Okay.
You're both in
I'm
Wisconsin.
if they're not from the country. So basically, you don't, this is a horrible thing.
Stacey used to boil frogs all the time.
That's what I'm starting to think.
And she learned if you slowly boil them, they don't realize they're boiling until they're boiled. And then she'd make soup. And then she'd hand it out. Then she'd sell it on the street corner to children like a lemonade stand. But it was frog soup. That's what it's about. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But
Stacey.
no, it's not realizing, because you're just steeped in it and the temperature is slowly going up. You don't realize that you're starting to boil. Because it's not like you're being thrown into a boiling pot. It's just the temperature slowly going up, and it's things compounding on top of each other. It's he's out late tonight because he's working. It's I'm not going to be home this weekend because I have to go down to whatever city for a business deal. It's all the things that start adding up. And then you finally realize, holy shit, this has really been happening. It's that gradual sinking into the abyss,
And you're with somebody, and you don't want to think that the person you've chosen to be with could do any of this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there.
Right. Exactly. And then also, I think that you kind of question yourself too, like, how could I let this happen? You kind of look at yourself and you start questioning yourself, like, why did I put up with this, or why didn't I question that? But a lot of that comes after you find out everything that went down.
Sure.
Right. Well, exactly. And I'm not a big fan of Louis C.K., but I invoked this a couple days ago and with a friend last night. He made a quote, and I don't know it exactly, but something to the effect of, if you ever have a friend who's getting a divorce and your first response is, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." That's kind of the wrong response, because no good marriage ends in divorce. Think about that. If you have a great marriage, it doesn't end in divorce. So the shitty, horrible marriages that need to end in divorce, they do. Does that make sense?
Yes. Better than the frog in the boiling pot, but yes, it does.
It's like a lobster in a boiling pot.
Yeah, that's
right,
Same thing.
And,
I mean,
like
really,
I said, I hate to talk about Louis C.K. in a positive light. I used to be a fan of his, but he needs some help. But yeah, that was an interesting statement that he made. And it's framed things for me a lot. Like, yeah, you're right. If we had a great marriage, I wouldn't be living in an apartment right now. So
yeah,
a lot of people who go through divorce, you wouldn't be in that situation if everything was fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the thing is, we don't want to believe that someone we care about could do that for us. But I think a lot of times we hold on to the idea that, well, this will change, things will get better. And I think it's a naivety that it's good that we have that faith in people. I think. And hopefully for some people, life works out and they can believe that, and they end up with folks where that ends up actually being the narrative. Unfortunately, the odds are not great for most where that's going to be the case through most of life. And it's a hard truth. It's a hard pill to swallow, that things can be a lot darker than they actually are, and that people are capable of doing the things they're capable of doing. And and that there are some people that are not capable of redemption. Correct. At the end of the day. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's the thing we have this faith, they can be redeemed, or this can be fixed, or we can talk this through, or we can figure this out. No, in some cases you just can't. That person's always going to be there. It's part of their personality. It's part of who they are, how their brain functions. They're not capable of doing things a different way, and capable is the key word there.
They cannot change, and they will not take the steps to change. They're not aware of what they need to do, and they won't do the work. So the best thing that you can do, the hardest thing you can do, is to get out of that situation and save yourself. Yeah. It's going to be hard. It's going to be horrible for a bit, but you know what? That's how you save yourself. And I just wonder if Ana wasn't leaning toward that. Like, I've got to get away from this man. And he cracked. And
it sounds like she was. And you can't do it quick enough in a lot of cases too, because especially if you have someone who's capable of committing crimes. I mean, obviously he was, but he always seemed to kind of have an excuse. Well, it was this. Well, it was that. He was one that was like, it's never my fault. It's always this or that. You're cheating on me. Well, yeah, you're in house arrest, and she's trying to live life and take care of the kids, and you over here. And yeah, surprise, surprise. You're not a very good prize of a man. Right. And she should have every right to get away from you. But unfortunately, he knew the prize that he had, and he didn't want anyone else to have it because he's a fucking raging narcissist. So there's the Google searches. And this is what I'm always surprised by in terms of people's stupidity of not realizing, hey, this is going to do you in your digital footprint of what you put out there. The morning of, after she's murdered, what's the best date to divorce a man? Actually, he looks that up earlier. Then on January 1st, he picks up the kid's iPad while Ana was supposedly getting ready in the bathroom, and starts looking up how long before a body starts to smell. 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. Lime and caustic soda to dissolve a body. And the best one, and I say this not truly meaning best, it really sticks. Dismemberment and best ways to dispose of a body. followed by hacksaw, best tool to dismember. Then he went to Home Depot.
So how many times have you guys searched for that? Today I searched for recipes to make with salmon and rice and curry.
Crazy. I don't know. Like, here's what's funny. I've got a really good friend of mine, and she loves to investigate serial killers. So she does know some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I'm starting to wonder, maybe there's some things going on around the neighborhood here, people missing. Maybe it's her. Because I'm
careful with my searches, especially with the work that we do. We do look up some really scary stuff.
I mean, look at Tony looking up that family this morning. I mean, that could come back to haunt you.
I'm on a list. Not the ads I'm going to start seeing. Which you're going, somebody made this ad. Or AI made this ad. I didn't know Collies did that. Lowe's. He goes. He grabs 10 30-gallon trash bags, tarps, specialized saw with replacement blades. Then over to CVS for hydrogen peroxide, more heavy-duty bags, even red Solo cups that prosecutors later say were for soaking up blood.
Wait. What were the cups for? Was he going to have a party?
No, I guess it's like scooping up blood or something. The only thing I can think of is like that scene in Breaking Bad where the ceiling breaks through after they put the body in the bathtub, and Walter says it has to be in this plastic drum to do this. And Jesse goes, I'm going to use the bathtub. And you can't do that because the chemicals will eat through the bathtub and it literally then collapses through the floor. But the tub, it wouldn't, because it wouldn't have that sort of chemical reaction. So they're sitting there scooping up the stuff, and it's pretty disgusting.
I wouldn't. I mean, that's the second time we've heard of red Solo cups being used in some weird ways. The other was the Reed hearing.
Yeah.
I would use a bucket personally, but that's just me.
Police eventually did search. They found blood traces in the basement, a broken knife with Anna's DNA on it, and no sign she ever made it upstairs that morning. So, I mean, he's kind of dead to rights on this. These are the searches that he made. He's on camera in Home Depot getting this stuff right after. The stories don't add up. The whole thing, I mean, it does feel fairly clear cut, but of course he's pleading not guilty. I'm going to be very curious as to how they're going to try and argue this. I know one of the early things that they've been trying to argue on this case does actually tie into Karen Reed, Proctor. He was I believe, the initial lead detective on this case.
Wow.
He's a gift that keeps on giving.
We haven't heard much about him recently.
No, but he was, and they were trying to subpoena information. They were trying to get basically anything that he touched on this case thrown out because of the Karen Reed case. Now, this is a very, very different case. This guy, he has the search history. It's there. It's just there. They've never found her body. The evidence is there. You don't have blood in your basement. You don't have this or that if your wife wasn't murdered in your basement. You just don't. But that was a big point of contention in this case of trying to get those things thrown out. And thankfully, the judge saw through that and said, nope. Yeah, he's not a great detective, but you know what? These are all things you did yourself. This has nothing to do. He didn't plant your Google searches. He didn't force you at gunpoint to go to Home Depot and buy these supplies. You did this yourself. So that is evidence that will stay in this case. Thank God. Because I was kind of concerned there for a little bit with the whole Proctor situation, that anything that he touched, there was going to be a lot of cases that no matter how damning the evidence, may be very compromised, and you could have people that are very guilty walking away from things more than already have been, that the whole cases could get completely, thrown up in the air.
I think the Google searches alone and the DNA, I think that seals the case pretty hard. I mean, obviously innocent until proven guilty, but she's missing, and those are his searches.
Yeah.
And they're not a loving couple that wants to stay together. There's a lot going on here. So it's not adding up to, I didn't do it. Sorry.
There were a ton of searches that guy made. I mean, and we just read a handful of them, and it goes on for days, literally. I mean, let me see if I can try and grab a few more of them. I mean, while I'm doing this, like, have you ever made a search where you later on you're like, I shouldn't have searched that, because you get the weird ads or the this or the that? Anybody got anything like that?
Todd?
Oh, sure. Throw me under the bus, Stacy.
Yes.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, except when I was younger, okay? And the internet was just coming out, and I was a young man, right?
Sure.
And
What were you looking for?
families,
For girls.
families shared computers. Maybe there was one in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that fear, because you're like, oh, I'm just going to look this up. And then you're like, and it's early on, so you don't know how to clear search history, even just for family members. And you're like, God, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But I've never looked up how to dispose of a body or anything like that.
No, I never have either. You know, if anything, I'm looking up how long can I keep a rotisserie chicken in the fridge, from Sam's Club.
What's the secret meaning on that one?
Yeah. And also, what's the answer?
4 days.
Okay.
Or you do the sniff test. If it starts to smell sour, get rid of it.
That's, yeah.
It's kind of
All
gross.
right.
But
Here's the list with a timeline, okay? January 1st, 4:55 a.m. How long before a body starts to smell? 4:58. How long, or how to stop a body from decomposing? 5:20. How to embalm a body? 5:47. 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. 6:25. How long for someone to be missing to inherit? That's an interesting one, because it shows there's a financial motive in this. How can you throw away body parts? 9:29. What does formaldehyde do? 9:34. How long does DNA last? 9:59. How can identification be made on partial remains? So it's like this is cycling through his mind, and like what he's going to do is changing we're hearing it in real time. Dismemberment and best ways to dispose of a body. How to clean blood from a wooden floor. Luminol to detect blood. What happens when you put body parts in ammonia? Is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them?
Well, come on,
Does Tide with bleach with a little extra Downy, does that really get rid of it? Or should I go with the Ajax? Is that going to be a better choice for you? On January 2nd at noon, over lunch, hacksaw, best tool to dismember. 1:10, can you be charged with murder without a body? 1:14, can you identify body with broken teeth? How stupid is he? I mean, look, these are...
we could say at least he's doing the research on it. I mean, I'm not saying this guy's a good guy, but yes, it's stupid. But we've been talking about somebody in the news recently that didn't think through some of these steps, right? So, I mean, at least he's researching it, but it certainly puts him at the quote unquote scene of the crime.
Yeah. On the 3rd, what happens to hair on a dead body? 1:13, what is the rate of decomposition of a body found in plastic bag compared to on a surface in the woods? 1:20, can baking soda make a body smell good? Smell good. I'm wondering if that was an autofill.
it had to be, because maybe smell less was where he was headed, but smell good? Wow.
And then December 27th, before all of this, what's the best state to divorce a man?
He asked that?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it goes back to financial concerns of what's the best state to get divorced and where he's going to have the most rights, if you will, or the most clout.
Is there a good day? I missed
what's
the memo.
the best state? The best state. Not the best day. Yeah. On Wednesdays, it's a 2-for-1. You get twice your wife's stuff if you get divorced on Wednesdays, but it's every 3rd Wednesday, only on leap years.
I went for after the 4th of July, Independence Day. I wanted to be symbolic.
Did you start singing Martina McBride
yes.
right after that? Oh, very good. Very good.
Sure did.
So proud of you, Stacy.
I know. I'm proud of me too.
So, yeah, there's none of this. But the legal gymnastics continue on in this case. This happened like right after the Idaho incident with Brian Kohberger, because that happened in November. This happened in December. This thing still hasn't hit trial.
Wow.
Yet, because it just keeps. This is how legal maneuvering works, and that's why it's so important that investigations are done properly. Because if you don't have it done properly, this case was this close to possibly being dismissed because you had Proctor that was involved in it. Luckily, cooler heads prevailed, and this man will face a jury, unless he pleads. I'm wondering if he's just trying to run his time out to see, exhaust all options. And then, well, at the end of the day, I don't see how this man would get away with it. But hey, stranger things have happened.
Really wonder what's going to happen with this.
I can't see a world where this guy is not in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, especially with his past record and things as well. There's going to be a lot of character evidence of him if it gets admitted. That's the other part. When it gets to trial, is it going to be like Alec Murdaugh, where other past incidents get admitted into it as some sort of character evidence? That doesn't always happen. It shouldn't always happen, depending on the case. You shouldn't be judged for other crimes necessarily, unless it can relate into this. I would think in this case, it would, because it paints the picture, and I'm not an attorney. This is just me from being friends with a lot of them. In my opinion, I think it would, because there's a lot of things that involve the wife, and that involve painting a picture of their marriage that would need to be admitted. And I don't know how you do that without putting his past crimes in front of a jury.
You'd almost have to.
You'd almost have to. Otherwise, you're not getting a clear picture of the state of the relationship. And she's not there to testify.
No, she is not.
So, horrible case. And it ends with, a bunch of kids that don't have parents now. One's in prison, the other one's dead and probably will never be found. All roads lead to narcissism. And on that note, we will wrap up our broadcast for the week. Be sure to press subscribe wherever you're downloading podcasts so you don't miss any of our coverage on this and the many cases we cover for you right here. Let us know your thoughts. You're in the comments there on YouTube. Just search Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi if you're not there already. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take a breath and tell the people that you care about that you love them. I love you guys. I couldn't do this without you.
Back at you.
So, all right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Until next time, for Todd and Stacy, I'm Tony. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.